Good. Okay.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And this morning, and Irina's evening, I'm having a conversation to Irina Castellano from Sydney. Good evening, Irina. How are you?
Hello, Caroline. Thank you for having me. And as we say here in Australia, I'm actually on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation in New South Wales.
Ah, well, I'll have to play that back to remember.
That's okay.
But it's lovely to meet you. We did
Nice
meet
to
on a networking call a few times.
Mhm.
So it's good to actually speak to you in person because we don't always get a chance to do that on the call. My question that I ask everybody is, what do you enjoy when you're not working?
When I'm not working, I actually love reading. Um,
Ah, okay.
yes,
So
I'm old-fashioned. I still read.
no, not at all. It's something that I perhaps should do a lot more of, but don't. So is there a particular author you enjoy? Is there a particular subject, so classical, sci-fi? What is it, or a mix?
No, I love reading biographies, so autobiographies, biographies,
Hmm.
so that I can learn from others and what they've been through. I just find it, we all have a story, so I find that
Yes,
super interesting. And in particular, on the topic of trauma awareness. So I'm very
right.
keen to learn more about how to heal from trauma and the neuroscience behind it. So that's
Oh,
absolutely
that's quite
my
a
area.
fascinating and quite a big topic, really, in that
Yeah.
sense, isn't it? Because you've got all sorts of different people with different traumas affecting people in so many different diverse ways.
Yeah, no, definitely. So it is, at the age of 15, I got started by reading a book, A Child Called It, and that really got me interested in the topic, but in particular in the last 10 years, even more so, because I just really wanted to learn more about it. Because I find it, once we understand how the brain works in the, most simplest way, not the complicated way,
Hmm.
and then how we know how to actually rewire our neurons in the sense that we need positivity, we need affirmations, yeah, we just really need to regulate our emotions in order to really be in control of who we are every day.
Mm. It's fascinating, isn't it? How the wiring of a brain. I mean, we're all born the same, and then things happen, and then the wiring perhaps gets a little skewed along
Well,
the.
to be honest, we're not even all born the same because even when we are in utero, it already makes a big difference.
Ah,
So if you're,
okay.
so if you're in the tummy as a tiny, tiny, tiny little something
Mm-hmm.
developing, whatever, it's not just the food that the mother eats, it's not just, if she sleeps and the rest she gets and all of that, it is also what she's experiencing. So if she's already on high alert most of the time, then that triggers down to,
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense.
in utero. Yeah, and
Mm.
actually, as women, we keep our trauma for 4 generations. So
Right.
we're always, we're already born with all the eggs that we will ever have. So the trauma is already in there from previous generations. And that's what I
Wow.
find fascinating about it.
It is, isn't it? I mean, I've never even thought about you. If
Yeah.
it doesn't come into your radar, then
Mm.
it's not something that you automatically would think about. But now you've actually said it out loud, it
It
makes
makes
all
sense.
this makes sense. Because
Yeah. Yeah. No.
it's like when you have a dog. If you're anxious about your dog meeting another dog, that anxiety goes down the lead.
There we go. I love watching dog shows. And then when you see, how the household is, up in arms for years and years and years, and then these dog whisperers come in, check out what, the owner is doing, maybe not so greatly. And then within 5 seconds flat, they get it sorted. So it is,
Yeah.
yeah, it is what we really kind of give to others. And
Yeah.
if you're in utero and your mother is anxious, or in a DV environment, or there's a lot of yelling, screaming, whatever, then of course it will also affect the baby in utero. Yes.
I mean, as I just said, now you said it out loud, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
And so you can then, in turn, with that, sort of look back. So people that have the anxiety and other conditions maybe are hereditary in the form of how things were in the home when mum was pregnant.
It all comes from somewhere. So
Mm.
every unwanted behavior has an unmet need. So that is a definite. So every time you have something that somebody is struggling with, it comes from somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is very profound.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying it's like when you start to read into it, and when you start to learn more and more about it, on why people are struggling with, for example, relationships. Well, it all comes from somewhere. Either you had, certain role models, and you tend to then maybe copy that partner as, the parent that you had, and then you wonder why it's not going anywhere, because you take what's familiar, you take what's even uncomfortable but familiar, and that's why we sometimes get stuck with the same old, and it's not really changing.
It makes so much sense that um, with, as you say, relationships, with anxieties, with conditions, neurological conditions.
Yeah, also
Uh,
trust, if you've never had trust, like if people
yeah.
around you were not consistent caregivers, then you grow up to not really trust people around you. So if you promise something, it doesn't really
Mm.
mean anything. If you're taught to lie, then you lie as well, and then you wonder why people don't like it. So
Yeah.
it's like you copy a lot of the behaviors that you've been surrounded with from a very, very, very young age.
Mm.
And some things serve us, like manners, and being polite in general, or whatever else, and being kind, and all these things. But then when we learn other things that are not so great, then
Yeah.
yes, that gets us into trouble later too.
Yes. And have you, with all your reading and sort of intrigue into the topic, how far back would you say that things are noticeable to compare to today's society?
In the sense.
Well, so you have people, say, sort of 40, 50, 60
Mhm.
years ago. Would you say that things were much the same back then, or have they got worse since
Oh,
then?
well. Well, I don't know, if you can say, well, let's put it this way. In the past, we might not have found out as easily as nowadays of what is going on because
Well,
of
yes.
social media now. So I mean, we know a lot more of what goes on around us than maybe in the past. Having said that, I think that especially with social media and the pressure that it puts on the young generation, and we all know the positives of social media, and how fantastic it is to have WhatsApp and to call anybody in the world and to do this for free. I mean, all these things that have changed for the positive, but a lot of it is also for the negative. People are more connected than ever, yet they're more lonely and more with mental health issues, and more anxious and everything, because of so much pressure, this constant fear of missing out, of not having seen this and not knowing what goes on over here and there. And it puts a lot of
Mm,
stress on everybody. So, and when you are anxious about what has already happened, or you worry about the future, then yeah, you're not really living in the present moment,
no, no.
so.
I think as you say, social media has added a mix into the equation, hasn't it? So that's something
Definitely.
sort of outside of control, as it were, um, rather than uh, that's an outside issue coming in rather than it being something that perhaps has an effect to the unborn child.
Yeah, but then again, with for example, now that we have such a high cost of living everywhere in the world, people are more worried about what's going on in the world. Is there, another third world war, or just seeing all the pain on TV every time you open it, and you listen to it and you see it. So all of that brings a lot of, not great emotions with you. And if you are heightened and if you're struggling, then of course you are more likely to have issues also within families. So you will have, more worries about money, you will have more screaming, more, people not being in a happy place. So when people struggle, of course, there's more confrontation. If there's more confrontation, of course, also the children will be affected. If the children are affected, then the schools are affected, and everything else is then affected. So I mean, it all is interconnected, and as a society, it all snowballs. And COVID has had a lot of positives in terms of, for example, mental health becoming more common, in the sense that people talk about it and people are made more aware. It has, home office versus going to work. I mean, there are so many positives that came out of COVID, even though it was so tough in so many ways. But it also has brought, a lot of other things with it that are not so great. So yeah, a lot of worries and tension, and not easy for many people. Yeah. Many are struggling at the moment.
I suppose if you just bumble through life and don't think more in depth as to what is going on and what has affected people pre-birth as to post-birth, you just don't know that all this goes on. And it's really, really interesting. Naively, quite an eye-opener to myself, because I haven't had children, so maybe that's why, perhaps. I mean, I've got brothers and I've got nieces and nephews, but not something that I would automatically think about. So yes, fascinating topic. My goodness, who knew that the question was going to end up really in quite a profound conversation.
Yeah, and well, look, it has to do with the fact that we've had kids come through our house, and we've also adopted 2 children from an unstable background. So we've been foster carers for the last 25 years, so it doesn't come from nothing. And yeah, it's just that I've seen behaviors, and then I was always trying to be curious to, where other people tend to think. I mean, we've come away, thanks God, from the way of saying, oh, what's your problem? What's your issue? To actually looking at, okay, what happened to you?
Yes.
And then when you look at, what happened to you and what brought you here, and to be honest, not so much the itty-gritty details of the negative experiences. It is more about, hey, what are you feeling inside? More working with the emotions. So if somebody has a lot of anger, a lot of shame, guilt, sadness in them, then we need to work with that. And if you can work with the emotions, then that's a whole lot more beneficial than actually working with the scenario or re-triggering people and letting them relive things. That's not helping at all. We need to actually release the emotions that are attached to the past experiences.
Yeah. And I suppose you've seen it a lot more because, as you just said, you foster. How many children have you fostered?
Over 80.
Wow.
So we've had quite a few kids come through in 25 years. And it's a positive scenario if they get reunited with birth family, because that's where they belong and that's where they should be. But not all kids do get reunited. But yeah, that's always our aim as foster carers. But if they can't, then we have also adopted 2 kids that couldn't be reunited.
Gosh, yes, that's quite.
Interest comes from, so I mean, it's not for nothing. I've seen things and heard things where I thought, okay, I need to look more into this to understand where these kids are coming from and how we can be as much trauma informed to actually do the right thing.
Yeah.
And if I would have known now, then what I know now, then it would have made a lot of things a lot more
Yes, I'm sure.
easier and understandable.
Yes. And it's kind of fostering, I suppose, has opened your eyes to a lot more than you would otherwise have been exposed to, in a way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I mean, of course, there are no perfect parents out there.
No.
Nobody has had the perfect parent. Nobody will ever be the perfect parents,
No,
and we
no,
all
no.
have our moments. But for me, the key thing is that we try and learn from it. And often the parents did the best that they could with the understanding and the knowledge that they had at the time. So it's not about blaming or shaming anybody that looked
No.
after anybody, but it is more about understanding why now that person is maybe, struggling in certain areas and trying to help to actually, deal with the emotions and let go of those emotions that don't serve you.
Yeah. It's really yes. I mean, you've got me thinking. I mean, it's just, well, that's the whole point of a conversation, isn't it? Really,
I'm glad I got you thinking here.
Yes. Yes, not that I don't think normally. It's a different type of thought.
Yeah, it's a topic that not many people know what
Oh,
to make of, so, but that's exactly why I'm really, really keen to learn more about it on a daily basis, because I find it absolutely fascinating
yes,
because it just explains so much.
definitely. And one of the jobs that I had when I was working was in a team for the local authority in post-adoption.
Oh, there you go.
And yes, so a lot of what you're saying now resonates, because not that we had a great deal of interaction with the children, but we were sort of doing the admin in the office. But you got a sense that there were troubled children. What you're saying now makes an awful lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think it's also totally unfair on how some people go into adoption. And I mean, I know what I'm talking about because, as I said, we have adopted two kids as well, one from overseas and one locally, and one from overseas because we lived there. But I think a lot of people go very naively into adoption, thinking that, oh, yeah, all I need to do is, love the kid and everything is hunky dory. And it's not like that,
Yeah,
because every child goes through identity, thoughts,
yeah.
feelings, and I don't think anybody can say that it's an easy journey. So just like parenting in general is not easy, and
No.
parenting nowadays with technology is even harder.
Yes. Well, there's
So,
there's
it's
no
all
manual, is
different
it?
levels.
Is there, for a parent? You just have to.
Well, you go with the manual that you are given from
Yep.
your household, and if there's,
Exactly.
if you're aware enough of things that did not serve you from your previous home, then it's great if you can implement more positive scenarios of parenting better. But you will never have all the solutions, and it doesn't matter how many books you read, you will still be confronted with things where you think, this is just all in the too hard basket.
Yes.
And yeah, so I mean, you make the best with each and every day, but of course, we also have our moments and we also have the not so great days, and we all have buttons that kids can push and partners can push, and so it's not always easy. And I would never say that parenting is easy. And if you had a child that didn't give you too much trouble, that's brilliant, but it's definitely not the norm.
Yeah. Well, Irina, I would love to thank you so much for opening my eyes to a topic that hadn't crossed my radar. I think probably because I'm not a parent. I think it would have been very different had I been. Been a different.
I'm sure you're a great auntie, so which means, look out for things there too.
But yes, that's very true.
Because
Thank you
role
very much
models
for
are
that.
so important.
Well, it
Yeah.
is. You're right, and yes, I think I am a good auntie. Thank you for that. Very much indeed. And I would like to thank you so much for joining me. Your this evening, my this morning, and hope that we can have a further conversation down the line.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, Caroline. Much appreciated. Have a great day. Yeah.
Thank you.